in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, it's not just about your financial health. Every Wednesday, we share tips to improve your physical, mental, intellectual, social, obviously your financial, and your spiritual health. And today we are focusing on how to improve your spiritual health regarding temptation. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you meet knows something you don't. There's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. Here at Millionaires Are Made, we are on a mission to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of life. So we went out and got 3 awesome guests, and we'll give you 3 awesome tips on how to improve your spiritual health with temptation in the spirit of authenticity to try to remove as much bias as possible. We do not talk about tips or advice in the green room in the backstage before the show starts. So when our guests give you their piece of advice, it'll be our first time hearing it as well. Audience, viewers, this is an interactive live show. Your comments and your questions will appear and be answered on our show. So ask as many as you want and comment as much as you want. We will take care of that and make sure that your questions get answered. On that note, we will do our follower shout out right now. Woohoo! If you want to get shouted out, all you got to do is follow us. On Facebook, John Alvarado, thank you for following us. Instagram, Matthias Hansen, you are amazing. TikTok, Anaga Filiada, you're great. And on YouTube, Text Boundaries, thank you so much. If you want to be a guest on our show, we love guests. Our vision is to see everyone in the world as a guest on the show sharing their knowledge. So we've got a lot of work to do. We'd love to have you on the show. We're dropping that link right now. Click it, sign up to be a guest, and let's get you on our show. The same goes for topics. We have a million unlimited topics in this world, but sometimes we run out of ideas. So we'd love your help. If you have a topic, click that link that just got dropped and shoot us a topic idea. It's 2025. If you like what we do, we got to see those likes, comments, stars, subscriptions, all that fun stuff. That's the only way we know we're doing something good. So please do that for us. Next up, we do have Millionaires Are Made merch. I am unfortunately not wearing any of it today. I am in the middle of a tropical storm, so I probably will disappear at some point during this episode, and the show will go on. One of our guests will take over as a host if I do disappear with this rain. What else we got? Sponsors. Time for sponsors. Before that, real quick, I do love to talk to you one-on-one. I have free growthing sessions. We're dropping the link right now. If you want to hang out one-on-one, talk about anything, everything. Most people use me for business ideas or marketing ideas, but I'm down to talk about whatever you want. It's completely free. Would love to talk to you and see how things go. Now that that's been said, let's go to sponsors. First, we have this episode sponsored by Sarah Jones. Sarah was in a failing marriage, buried in debt, hired one of those big-name debt counseling companies. It sucked. So her and her husband just wiped the slate, became financial coaches, and now they travel the U.S. in a giant RV. And Sarah guides couples, individuals, and small businesses to build fun, healthy money habits. I would definitely go check her out if your bank account's not as big as you want. Our next sponsor is Biz by Right, the matchmaking service for people who love buying and people who have businesses to sell. They find cash flowing deals, vet them with AI wizardry, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Next, Brian Parana. Speaking of temptation, Brian has founded the Call to Rise for strong busy men to reclaim their health, their energy, and their confidence through simple, sustainable systems that fit their real life. And finally, if you are trying to publish a book or a story, we have Brian Wright. He also has the Ultimate Achievers magazine. If you're trying to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and growth leaders, reach out. It's a great magazine. You can sponsor, advertise, or talk to Brian to go get your entire book published if you haven't yet. And that is all for our sponsors, which means time to Sorry, I thought we had an issue. All right, time to bring in our first guest. Our first guest is going to be Jeremy. Jeremy,
Boom.
tell me, who are you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? I am Jeremy Rodruck. For more than 30 years, I have been guiding men and couples, especially high-performing power couple types, to master their inner worlds. They can stop self-sabotage, rebuild trust at home, and lead with clarity, playfulness, and power. Not a therapist. I'm not here to preach religion. My work is about practical self-leadership, learning how your mind, emotions, and habits really work so that you can transform a life in days instead of months or weeks or years or decades. That's what I'm bringing. Real
Woo!
tools, real results, no shame, no fluff.
That sounds fascinating, Jeremy. You're awesome. Jeremy, I know very well, and he does awesome work. Next up, Jeremy. Oh, this is going to tie right into what you do. If I wanted to improve my spiritual health with temptation, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Temptation loses its power not when you resist it harder, but when you see the unmet need underneath, above, beyond, or behind it and meet that need in a healthy way instead.
Give us a tiny bit more information on that.
Right. So what you resist persists. And when you feel tempted, when you feel like, oh, I got to do this thing, no, I got to resist this thing, just the fact you're giving energy or thought to it, it creates this
Mm.
pressure. It's hard to stop thinking of a thing, right? Well, I got to stop smoking. So I never smoke. 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 Say that 10,000 times a day, you're being negative and you're obsessing about what you don't actually want versus why do I want to smoke? Well, when I smoke, it take a deep breath, I can relax for a second. Oh, so you want to relax, you want to have less internal tension. Gotcha. So I can breathe deep, I can breathe freely, I can breathe easily and effortlessly. Say that to yourself 10,000 times a day. Say, I can create peace anytime I choose to notice I need it or want it, and say that to yourself 10,000 times a day. And what happens to the thought of smoking? It simply ceases to exist in your reality because you got to that, what did I really want behind the behavior? And a lot of things that we create as temptation, we push that out and say, oh, I'm being tempted. Are you? Or are you being invited to explore unmet needs in a new way?
Fascinating. So Jeremy loves to call BS on your belief
That's
systems,
right.
and that is a perfect example right there. Jeremy, tell us where in your life journey you learned this tip, this advice.
I learned this from watching hundreds of men wrestle with temptation, whether it was being drawn to somebody outside their marriage, porn, reaching for a drink after a stressful day, doom scrolling at the end of the night. The pattern was always the same. It was temptation only exists as long as you resist it instead of exploring where's it coming from. And I give it in dimensional space because we all don't process the same way. And so, what's underneath it? Right? What's above it? Go those two directions, or what's beyond it, or what's behind it. And so it's like you're here in the middle of this experience, you're having this sensation, you're feeling some sort of attraction or pull or push. Cool. Well, trying to shut that down through white knuckle force of will, good freaking luck, because you're going to fatigue at some point. You're not going to get enough sleep one night and you're going to give in. Versus, well, what is this really coming from? And so that's the idea. And once you start to dig into that, it could be loneliness, it could be boredom, it could be disconnection, it could be some sort of unexpressed desire or some creative thing that you've just never given voice to. But when we start to go in those different places, suddenly the thing starts to lose its grip. And that's how we begin to change, not by resisting it, not by making it wrong. Oh, I'm horrible for thinking this. If you're being attracted to another woman while you're in a monogamous relationship, well, this is a horrible thought. Or what am I not appreciating in my partner? What is my partner not appreciating in me? How could I create that attraction, what can I notice about my partner I've been taking for granted for a while? Just those questions begin to shift our focus, and no fault, no blame. Just, isn't that interesting? Where'd that come from? What could be driving that? And that's how we take the tension down, take the judgment down, and find what's really going on. but a lot of people get locked in that echo chamber inside their heads, and they're judging and they're making themselves wrong and they're ashamed and they're guilty and they suppress and suppress and suppress, which actually increases the tension. It's like squeezing a jelly donut. Stuff's going to come out sideways.
The
Versus
old
just own
jelly
it.
donut.
That's right. Love them jelly donuts.
All right, if you got a jelly donut getting squeezed, Jeremy's the man. Jeremy, we're going to move on to our next guest. We'll bring you out for the round robin. Next
All
up,
good.
we have Linda. Linda, tell us, who are you?
I am an entrepreneur for 40 years, a real estate investor, and in the middle of that, about 20 years into it, I turned into an intuitive instructor as well. So I kind of carry two worlds. I carry a spiritual world with me along with a business world of real estate. I think that those two do not have to be at odds with one another, even though a lot of people feel that they do. But in my world, they are not.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you a very important question. If I wanted to improve my spiritual health regarding temptation, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Well, as a real estate investor and an entrepreneur, have had many businesses over the years, but I can honestly say the temptation of giving up is a really strong one because there are so many obstacles that can come along in your way when you have your own business, when you're trying harder to make that successful. The temptation of just giving up is always present. But my advice would be, of course, rather than to give up, begin to look at how you can persevere through. And I think the strongest spiritual part of that is really self-love. When you love yourself and you love what you're creating and you have passion toward what you're creating and you get in touch with that rather than the temptation of just saying, I can't, I won't, I shouldn't, whatever those NTs are that you're not going to move forward. Those are always going to be present, and you're always going to have obstacles. You will always have the temptation of giving up. But I can say that if you persevere through that and try to find real legitimate ways to improve things, it can be completely different. Another temptation I feel like we all have is one where we feel like it's all or nothing. And it really doesn't have to be that way. I know with my business, I built it slowly and surely. I got debts paid off. It began to build wealth in the middle of that rather than to do it, as if I had to jump in and just dive into the deep pool of massive debt. I did it slowly and I did it surely and I did it with confidence and I did it in a manner that I could handle. So the temptation wasn't as great to just, plunge in. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it in increments that you can actually handle. So I think the temptation is there in a couple of ways. One is don't give up. And the other temptation is, to spiritually always care enough about yourself to get in touch with the passion, because the passion is what drives all success.
I love it. I have another question. Where on your life journey did you learn this information?
Well, it was probably always a big part of me, but I think it was through the years, I began to notice that if I could take a positive attitude toward those obstacles as I came along, that there was another opportunity that would come around to enable me to get through that obstacle. In real estate, especially when we first started investing in real estate, we had regular jobs, at the beginning when we first started investing in the real estate market. And at one point, I know my ex-husband, he lost his job. And at that moment, it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But I didn't take that attitude. It was a matter of, oh, well, this is a grand opportunity for us to go full time into what we've been doing all along, which is investing in real estate. And that ended up being the best choice we could possibly make. So I think it was just deciding to take a positive point of view at that moment rather than a negative one.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. We're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you out for the round robin. Great insight there. Next up, we have Hector. Hector, tell us, who are you?
Well, that depends on how much time you have. Look, I'm just a man.
You have 1 minute.
I I'm a man that has an incredible long history. It dates back to hundreds of years ago, but I'm living here in the present, and I'm here to help people find their identity, because identity equals deity. Okay?
Okay.
And when you can put those two together, what you get is harmony, which is what all the religions are trying to talk about and everybody's trying to give you. Harmony
Yes.
is the core by which you live. From there, everything else comes out. So temptation is non-existent. It's just you expressing yourself. That's who I am. I'm walking this path. What I do is I teach the 5 archetypes of masculinity to men to help them get to that place where they are operating not just in business, but they're operating from a sense of essence, a changed life. There's a lot of men that you know and I know have money, but they're not living it, not internally. There's a little boy inside that's still wounded. We can't talk about women. It's just talking to men. That's who I am. That's what I do. And right now,
You and
um,
Jeremy are gonna have to connect on that.
yes, sir.
But
Yes,
let's.
sir.
I got a very important question for you, Hector. If I wanted to improve my spiritual health with temptation, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Okay. Identity is the only factor that you need to focus on. Okay. You only have one energy. That's the only truth that you need to know. And there's only one law that you need to follow, is the law of cause and effect. You get these 3 things, you got it covered.
Tell us how we get those 3 things.
So first of all, um, the law of cause and effect is something that needs to be understood, because there's no other law that functions. That's how you can have business people having money and everything else and be crooked inside, right? Law of cause and effect. That's not God doing it. All right. You only have one energy. If you feel tempted, that's a message. Like the weeds grow in the grass. The reason why is because they're telling you, hey, this is pH balance, is disorderly. A temptation is telling you there's a slightly disorder. Check it out, dig into it, find out what it is, invite it to come in and watch it. It no longer is a temptation, but a teacher, the teacher you needed. Okay. That's why you only have one energy. It's all you. All right. And then identity. Well, guess what? If somebody is trying to tell you that you are not who you are, that's why I said I'm a man, then I have no place to make judgment. That's not being judgmental. I am a individual having an experience, and can I not only experience that what I am expressing, but is it coming back to me with more love? That's the baseline of identity. Who am I, and am I happy with that? And if the answer is 100% yes, guess what? Done. Done. I'm pulling people that love me because I'm loving them back. I'm changing the world. That's it. That's identity.
That's it.
Yep.
All right, Hector, where on your life journey did you learn this advice?
Um, I learned it through the hard school of knocks. I was paralyzed from the neck down 30 years, almost 30 years ago. And that moment of separation in between my body and my consciousness took me on a trip that brought me to this place.
All right, easy enough. Ready to bring out everyone else and do a round robin?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to bring everyone out here just a sec when I learn how to click buttons correctly. Jeremy, Linda, Hector. I thought you were like holding a wizard hat, Jeremy. Oh man.
It's a cat.
All right, Jeremy, you posted a comment while Hector was talking.
Boom.
I
did.
say the 3 of us get together and discuss that.
I haven't even read it. I don't even know how to get to it. That's,
Don't worry, that's what I'm here for. Comment is here. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Have at it. Who wants it first?
Well, I just pushed that out because of, as you guys were talking, like that's the idea that temptation doesn't exist or to embrace it. It was like, oh, that's a parallel thought. It's from Rumi, translated by Coleman Banks. So or Barks. It was like, that's a really cool thought. So that's why I shared it.
no, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it because, Rumi dates back to the same time as what the studies that I've pulled. And I'm Hispanic Jew, so I go to the Spanish Kabbalah of that time, and they were contemporaries, Rumi with the Kabbalist, and it's just all one thought.
Well, I think largely it depends on the goals that are present, though, because if a temptation can be different for each person. It doesn't just have to be from the philosophical point of view of a general thing, because each person has their own area in which they are perhaps tempted to perhaps stray from something that they feel like is important to them.
Hector, you got a response to that?
I'm trying to process. I bumped my phone and the volume came up, so I lost a little bit of track of what.
While you're processing, we have a funny comment from Polar Nights. As a barber, I love this show. It has every stage of beard growth.
That's awesome.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I thought that was pretty
Linda,
cool too. That's fun.
Show up your beard. Come on, let's see it. Oh, that's funny.
No, she's the
all right,
clean shaven
Linda,
one. So
Yeah.
Can you quickly refresh what your tip was for us?
It was, it was giving up was one of the things that I talked about as far as a temptation goes. For me personally, it was moving into a positive frame of mind at a difficult moment rather than to allow myself to drop into maybe self-pity or something that would have been destructive in that moment. I took it to a higher level where I saw a positive outcome, and that launched a bigger business than what was before. So yeah, that was my temptation.
So let me ask you this then. If someone's struggling with that, how would you recommend them? What tips would you give them to move into a better space?
Well, as I talk about in my work and also the book Spy Your Way to Power and Success, it's about looking at opportunities in the future rather than to be isolated in the moment in despair. If you can intuitively look into the future and see those opportunities that sit out there for you, then you can move into those more directly and be able to manifest those in your life.
And so that kind of fits a bit with what Jeremy was saying. Jeremy, do you have any take on her tip and info there?
yeah, she went above, right? See it from a higher perspective. So yeah, it's totally in alignment, and it's that in the world of hypnotherapy, we would say you're using a temporal marker, right? Not this moment, the next season, what's in front, the time. And so then it gets to like, how do you store time? Because some people's sense of time, it's forward, some people it's above, some people it's beyond. So it's like, how do you as a personal, as an individual, how do you associate with time? And then how can you move yourself into that place? One of the things I would say, and I think we would all agree, is sometimes these things are difficult to navigate on our own, because if we are in that pit, right, we feel like we're stuck somewhere. It can become very easy. That's our reality. We get blinders on. And all we can see, all we can feel is this current moment repeating itself. And all the other times I messed up and all the other. And so having a sounding board, having a third party, someone to talk to who's not enmeshed in your stuff, that can be a very powerful resource, because they can ask you the blind, obvious, silly questions that make you go, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Because we're so focused on what's wrong, we're deleting what's right, which is equally available, but we're not always aware of that. simultaneously. So that's why it's sometimes helpful to have mentors, coaches, consultants, sounding boards, peer group, friends, right? Because then it's like they can stretch what we're focusing, what we're referencing, because it feels like you're in the suck. Yeah, absolutely. And what a great place to be, to realize that you don't have to stay there, right? And how did you get there? How do you get out? So that temptation is all about you're being enticed to something. Cool. Why not entice to whatever your next level is, whether that's higher or deeper or beyond?
And I think
Any
that's where
thoughts?
the self I think that's where the self-love comes in. When you can get to a place where you have that depth of self-love, which is part of my program, you don't need the coach anymore because you can put yourself into that self-love position and then thus project yourself into more positive states.
Hector, any thoughts on that?
Yes. So when looking at one single energy, we have deficiency and we have excess. And when you have excess in that energy, whatever that may be, what happens is we move with force to try and overtake. And when we have lack or deficiency, we try to absorb from other people's idea. And we're like, are you my mama? Are you my God? Are you my this? How can I need you to fix me? When you lose your identity, what more the symptom that's more likely to show up is self-hatred. But when you begin to love yourself in a much deeper way, all of a sudden you start seeing things in a different place, and the canvas opens up before you. Answers come. And that's how you know the difference in between a silo group versus a true community that supports you. That's how you discover true friendship and true love and true brotherhood, because you have the identity, because you love you first.
Can't give what you don't have.
Boom.
And also you just can't see positive opportunities out there without that love. It's really difficult to do because frequency matches frequency. I think we're all probably going to agree on that one. So I think as you begin to move into that position of knowing yourself, and I think you have to know yourself before you can own yourself. And as you begin to know yourself more and you begin to care about yourself more, which is the self-love, you begin to see those more dynamic opportunities that are available, and you begin to move past those barriers.
100%. That's why I said in the beginning that there's only one factor, one truth, and one law, right? And by commission of affinity, how I am towards that thing is what causes the attraction, right? And so you're right. You have to have proper placement for something to come towards you. And yeah, I agree with you. And what's beautiful about this is that we're all telling a very similar story, right? It's just that we're coming from our own personal experience. There's no dogma here. It's practical application. If it works, it works.
Yeah. It's like the shape of a cup, right? I got two different cups, but it's the emptiness inside that makes them useful, and it's the ability to pour out and then fill back up again. So, awareness, what we're talking about, awareness is a key. It can unlock a door, but you still got to do the work. You still got to turn the handle. You still got to walk in. You got to be ready for the next conversation in the next room. And so, talking about this idea of self-love is part of that. Acceptance is the next step. Once you're aware of something, then you got to accept whatever the reality of it is, good, bad, sideways. Well, the good, bad, sideways is subjective. It's personal, right? And maybe it's an invitation to go higher or deeper or wiser, right? But it's really that acceptance, and it's that got it. And that's why conversations like this matters, because it shifts that what is potentially available. You don't know until you see it, and you go, oh, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, I have to agree with that 100%. 100%. I think, I think it's growth that we're talking about. It's like temptation will always be there no matter what stage we're at, but it's the growth that enables us to walk through that temptation.
It's like problems, right? People say, "Oh, I just want all the problems go away." It's like, no. You're always going to have problems. It's you want to like have a better quality problem. Like, do I eat is a problem. What do I eat? Having to choose specifics, that's a problem. It's a little bit better problem than do I eat. Where do I eat? Another problem. Who do I eat with? Another problem. But they're all better qualities than do I eat today?
You know, I would say that the practice. Is that me? I would say that the practical application of how to deal with temptation is this. If I am dogmatic about something, that's the sign, the symptom. That's not the sign, that's the symptom that something inside of me needs to be addressed, right? So that's why I say that temptation is a signal. It's like the weeds. Your pH is off balance. When you bring it into balance, everything works. And now we go into this concept of identity. So a lot of times we can get lost in big words, but if you take a moment and feel where you're at, you feel what you are, and then you feel where you feel, right? Now you find that place. It's in you. You're the one experiencing it. And all of a sudden, you got a new awareness, right? So with that awareness, you can ask questions around that awareness. What is it about this conversation, this person, this situation, wherever I find myself in my essence, that took me away from my presence? How do I get back there? Because my presence is the present to the whole world. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just in the business that I'm in with real estate investing, oftentimes, situations will come up, and of course, there's that knee-jerk response that you have to be upset or angry, or and given my position, I can often take advantage of the person that maybe is doing me wrong. And in that moment, you have to bring yourself back to what's my value system? What are my ethics? And who is it that I want to be here? And how can I approach this? But there's always that divide, that temptation, to go into a lower level and can I move myself through that into another state? And usually that's, just a matter of centering yourself. Meditation sometimes helps, just being able to get back to your core values, like identity, like you said, that enables me to, to move past that temptation and move into something that's more compatible with who I am or who I want to be. And then also to resolve the problem, like you've said, what is it that I'm wanting out of this issue? And sometimes it's not going to be exactly what I want, because when you're dealing with, high levels of money, and you're dealing with, tenants, and you're dealing with, money's due, and you're dealing with the legal system, there's just such a gambit of things that you have to approach and deal with when you have a large amount of real estate. So in those moments, you can, and also in those moments, you just know, you know that there is a part of the law that would allow me to take advantage of people. And so it's only going to be me resisting that temptation and coming back to the core values that I have that will prevent me from doing that. So a lot of it has to do with that self-love, but then being able to take that self-love and project that to others as well, with a sense of compassion and empathy.
All right, I'm going to swing this kind of back around. So we got spiritual health and temptation. I don't want to get religious, but we had a few comments about, let's just start with like adultery. Let's start with each side. So spiritual health, temptation. Jeremy mentioned this a little bit. Oh, that woman's beautiful. I want to go talk to her even though I'm married. How, as the spouse that you might have been cheated on, or being the cheater, what tools and tips and actions can we use to remove that temptation, or to deal with a potential monogamous partner that didn't avoid the temptation? So it's a two-part question. Good luck.
I got this. I got this. This is easy. Okay. Um, the agreement in between two sovereigns is a contract. Period. That contract comes with stipulations. And if we are not cognizant of what we signed as a contract to enter into
Okay.
that relationship, you know what? It's nobody else's business. So the problem that we have is that we try to put dogma on everything, and when it's you're what you the question you asked is too low of a level of a question, and I'm not trying to insult your intelligence to really solve the problem. Okay, see, we've created problems and we're trying to solve them at the same level of thinking. The reality is this: talking marriage only. That is not a religious contract. That is not a spiritual contract. That is a governmental contract.
Okay.
That's why you have a number. Okay. So we're not talking spirit anymore. We got to separate those things. That's the level of
Well,
thinking I'm talking about. Go ahead.
I mean, you can still have a marriage in Christ. It doesn't even have to represent a government.
I'm not talking right. Whatever you want to call it. If it's spiritual, it's a sealed contract in between two sovereigns, and it's nobody else's business. Just because I want to call it Christ, it doesn't mean that the church has to get involved. That's where the difference is. I'm saying, look, we're talking about something because we don't truly understand the language that we're using. We make assumptions.
Yeah,
So
part of the problem for me on that question is it's completely reactionary, so it's after the fact.
that's what I'm getting at.
And if we're dealing with after the fact, well, there were contributing things that drove to this moment. It's like when I do self-defense stuff and people are like, oh, well, what if
Thank
somebody
you.
grabs you? I'm like, okay, give me the context. What do you mean? Well, what's going on? What was happening ahead of time? What's the environment? Like, it's not just you're in a white room and nobody's there and somebody grabs you. How do you defend yourself? Like martial art techniques, self-defense situations, they don't occur in isolation. They occur in a context. So you've got a partner that's tempted, that cheated. Well, now we're doing damage control, we're doing after the fact. You guys really should have had those conversations ahead of time about boundaries, standards, not expectations in the sense of like entitlements, but like, when I talk with my clients, we talk about 5 to thrive, and this is what I need to be my best self on all levels. And you both have that written down and shared with each other, so you know how to win the game with each other, so that this stuff gets addressed way earlier. Well, I didn't do all that stuff. Okay, great. So now you're in a situation you got to deal with. You already got punched. Now you're trying to figure out how you got punched because you didn't even see it coming. Now it's ugly. And it really does get into, what is your faith? What is your belief system? What is your partner's belief system? Is it possible to heal and recover? Are we going to address the causal factors that drove this dynamic in the first place? Are we going to bury our heads and, well, no, they apologize and I'm just going to love them right? Like there's a lot more at play, so there can't be a very simple just here's the rubber stamp, do this one thing and you win, right? Esther Perel has a whole book and a whole block of knowledge base on mating in captivity and what drives cheating and how do you resolve it and what's our instincts and our stuff. That, like, go get the research, go get the experience, go get the frameworks, because it's horrible after the fact. Now, before the fact, when you feel, oh, that person's beautiful. Oh, I'd like to get with her. Okay, what specifically? Is it the nape of her neck? Is it the turn of her eye? Is it the way she wears her hair? Is it the way her hips and the angle with her knees? Like, the more you can deconstruct the specifics of what is so attractive, and then, do I have to have possession of that? Do I have to have ownership of that? Can I appreciate those characteristics in my partner that I currently have, my wife that I currently have, my husband that I currently have? And if not, okay, is there a way we can have a conversation to, I didn't realize I was attracted to this type of thing. I'd love to explore this more. Are they open to that conversation? Right? Because the more we can just be open without judgment, but just where we are with, I noticed this person, this body was tremendously attractive. And my partner is more than just a body. Like, the more we can start to segment it out into individual pieces, we can start to isolate, like, what specifically was it that got my attention, and can that be created in a different way, right? If my wife knows, like yesterday, she was wearing compression socks because we ran the other day, and she had on a skirt, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go change my socks." I was like, "No, those socks are really cute." So she changed her whole outfit to keep the socks on. And so she wore compression socks all day long, and she wore this cute little outfit that it wasn't about her trying to please me. It was an outfit that made her feel great. And by the way, I get to enjoy the experience too. It's a win-win. And so that's how
Wow.
you begin to start pulling this stuff apart, is where's the win-win where we both get to be playful and we both get to be warm, big, and happy inside. Like that's the stuff to go chase in a marriage or in an intimate relationship, you know?
There you go, brother. There you go, brother. There you go, man. Holy smokes, man. Knocked it right out of the park. And I just want to say, I'm having such a good time because some of the comments that you guys are putting out there are freaking hilarious. You got me rolling. So we're talking about a very serious subject, and I'm cracking up over here. Thank you so much for sharing those comments.
Yeah,
One
I'm
guy
married to
said,
a Latina. I would never. I saw that quote. Like, that I have a client with that. Like he has that energy with his wife. I'm like, damn. Mhm.
That was great. That was great. And then the other one who said, "This is I'm going to give up watching the news. Here I have four Americans having an actual discussion." So that was pretty powerful. It means that we're doing what we're supposed to do. Okay, we're bringing unity when it's all said and done. So I'm a Sephardic Jew, which means I practice. It doesn't mean that. It's that I choose to engross myself in the Hebrew at the base of it, not in a narrative. So I break it down into not only its meaning, its mathematical composition, its numerical equivalent. I just go way deep into that stuff, right? Bottom line is the word for God um, has a number equivalent, and the word for love has a number equivalent, and the number for the word for the unity share love and unity share the same value, and that's 13. And the word I am a singularity when God is speaking equals 13. So what I'm saying is, when it's all said and done, if we bring more love to whatever space we occupy than when we arrive, we're doing the right thing. It doesn't matter what your language is. This is what we need right here, right now. If we want to influence people in with books and helping, the entrepreneur, they got to get what we're doing right here. It has to be that practical, and whatever it is that we're doing. Otherwise, all we're doing is just we're puffed up with nothingness. So thank you for Jeremy for showing people what the love in between a man and a woman looks like, and a very practical experience, and to be able to acknowledge that to her and say, babe, that turns me on. And she goes, oh really? Well, then let me give you some more of this, right?
Yeah,
And you get to
it's funny
experience it
when
all
you
yourself.
give your partner the points, like they get excited to get more points. It's win-win.
What's your
You gotta
desire?
smack that ass.
Yeah, what's your desire?
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are at the point where have to do one last task. We have to create a daily challenge. This is a task or series of tasks that takes 5 minutes a day, costs $0, and is available to anyone in the world that helps you improve your spiritual health with temptation. What thoughts do you guys have?
I gotcha. When
Well, my
temptation,
suggestion, go ahead.
oh, go ahead,
Go
go.
ahead, Linda.
My suggestion would be to take 5 minutes a day, quiet your mind, go within yourself, do some soul searching within yourself of the things that you feel like are tempting you, and to begin to ask the question, and even write down before going into the meditation. Ask yourself the question of how this can be resolved in a healthy and productive way.
So maybe naming like 3 things that might tempt you that day. Maybe it's cake, maybe
Mhm.
it's beautiful person, and maybe it's, I don't know, yelling at someone or punching a hole or something. Does that sound kind of like what you think? Think of things that
Yeah,
may tempt you that day.
yeah, that might tempt you that day, or just things that are challenges to you overall. There could be things that are just challenging overall in your life. It doesn't really matter what the three things are, just as long as you know that they're temptations for you. And if you take 5 minutes to begin to address those and then see just what information comes back. I'm an intuitive instructor, so I teach people how to listen to those gut feelings and that intuition and that part of you that can connect with information that's far, far, far beyond just what your conscious mind is aware of or knows. So I think that would be my advice to people is get in touch with your inner self.
Okay, good. I like that a lot. Actually, that's a good one. We have a comment from Polar Nights. My challenge is Jeremy has to smile 10 times a day. All right, so we got name 3 things that may tempt you and ways that you may get a better options to live in that situation. We got okay, Jeremy. This is so long.
I dumped mine in LinkedIn. No, it's just so it's written. You don't have to put all that on screen. I'm going to say it. So when you feel temptation rise, whether it's drink, doom scrolling, drawn to someone who shouldn't, whatever, stop and then do this. So first 60 seconds, pause and breathe. Inhale slowly through the nose, exhale through your mouth, right? That moves you out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So we shut your nervous system for 60 seconds. Then for 2 minutes, you're going to ask 4 questions, right? 4 directions out loud. Stand strong and then ask yourself underneath. So what is the pain, the stress, or the unmet need that this thing is masking? What's underneath this? Ask yourself. Number 2, what above? What is the higher value or standard that I'm longing to live up to? Like, what am I really trying to get to? Then we go beyond. So what is your future self or future vision that's calling you forward? And then behind, what story or memory from my past is driving this? And then the last 2 minutes, we're going to replace and redirect. So pick a micro action that nourishes the true need you just uncovered. Text someone you respect, take a short walk, take a sip of water slowly, stretch, write a single line of gratitude, something that's going to shift the gears for you. Do this once a day for a week, and you can do it all under 5 minutes. And you start to retrain your nervous system when that temptation shows up to move from reaction to response, which is our response ability. And then the temptation will start to shrink because you're starting to get to the need underneath it or beyond it or above it or behind it. Boom.
All right.
All right. Okay. I'm trying to fit that into a tiny daily challenge off of your 16-page novel, Jeremy. Hector, did you want to add a little something first?
Definitely. I'm actually doing a 5-week mini challenges every day. This one is free. If you find me on Facebook, cool. You'll get to participate. But
His link was shared. We can share it again.
Okay, it's easier for me to show you than to give you all the details. You're basically going to breathe and you're going to constrict that breath and hold it, and you're going to say or think something, and you're going to do it at the top and at the bottom. So you're going to take a deep breath. I want you to see it. And you're going to hold it. And then when you can't hold it no more, you go like this, a little bit more. Then you say in your mind, I am full. And then at the very bottom, when you empty it all out, you drop your shoulders, you slump, you say, I am empty. And I am empty. Then you take another deep breath. I am full. And all you got to do is say to yourself, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling? And when am I feeling it? If you do this once every hour, that's prevention. If you do it when you're in the event, that's reaction. But if you do it for 24 hours, every hour, watch what's going to happen the next day. Don't do it, and see how your awareness has changed and your power to make decisions has elevated. Give it a try and then let me know. Let him know if that works. I know it does.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap this up. Polar Nights has a little something for you, Hector, and then I'm going to put y'all backstage and finish this. Thank you all so much for coming on today, and hopefully we'll see you in a future show. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Hector, and thank you so much, Linda. And thank you all so much for watching another episode of Millionaires Are Made. We got an awesome challenge. So every day, name 3 things that may tempt you that day. Try to be proactive is the word. Yeah, proactive. Think of 3 things that may tempt you. Maybe you're going to a bar and you don't want to drink. Maybe you know that you have a stressful meeting and you don't want to smoke your cigarette. Whatever it is, try to think of it ahead of time, plan ahead, and see what other options you have better. Then take a little moment of thought about the real reason that you're doing it. Is it, oh, cigarette has stress? All right, well, let's try to figure out how to do stress without that. And then if you do find your temptation, we're going to do a giant big breath, Hector style, if you will. And then name 2 or 3 things you are grateful for in that moment. And as Jeremy said, try to reduce the fight or flight and have a better time to resist temptation. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next Wednesday for our next